Hey there everybody, this is Color bringing you Game 2 of Flash vs. Fantasy here in the Tving OSL Ro4. We'll see if the Bionic Terran can recover his composure here on Neo Electric Circuit 2.1. Flash, I really felt had the advantage the last game until the mid-game when Fantasy took over the center of the map and got out that fleet of Wraiths. And Flash just never had the right control of his dropships. He never got off a single good drop, and that's to Fantasy's credit, by the way. Can't just say Flash failed in the first game. Fantasy managed to detect the dropships very well and use his rates to intercept every single time, preventing Flash from getting those devastating drops off. I also felt that Flash could have done a little bit better dropping on top of other of his opponent's units instead of just going for the bases with his dropships and being forced to just ferry his units around. That's what he did most of the time. But anyway, this is Neo Electric Circuit Game 2. Flash is in the bottom right, Fantasy's in the upper right, and we'll see what happens here. And thank you guys for watching, of course. You guys are awesome for sending me all those kind messages and for being, as rabid fans of my commentating as these Koreans are of StarCraft commentating here. Just really big shout out to everybody out there. Yeah, anyway, this is Fantasy in the upper right, in the red, and Flash is in the white in the bottom right. We'll see if Flash decides to go for a 14 command center. This map, it's not impossible to do so. You can defend pretty easily, so we could see Flash deciding to go for fast expansion, as can Fantasy, of course. And whoever goes for a fast expand probably will have a slight advantage going into the mid game at least, although that was not decisive for Flash last time around. Looks like Fantasy is going to go for a barracks. Yeah, there's the barracks for Fantasy. And Flash has not gone for a barracks of his own, instead sending his SCV out to scout, so that leads me to think he is going to go for a 14 command center. Meanwhile, Fantasy sending his SCV to scout too. Flash looking at the middle of the map. We'll see if he decides to cross over. Yeah, Flash just with the Spidey sense here, seeing no SCV crossing over, decides that Fantasy is probably at the upper right. As you can see, Flash just such a pro. And he is going to go for that 14 command center here, or 13 command center, and gain an economic advantage, which Fantasy is going to have to recover from. Because Fantasy is also going for a fast expand. As you can see, there's no gas, so he's not going to be able to do too much damage to Flash, I don't think. He's going to do some harassment here with his SCV. Not going to do too much, though, because Flash has presciently brought out a second SCV to defend his first one. And the micro here from both players in the last game was just really good. Top level Terran versus Terran play. But somehow Fantasy managed to win in the first game despite being slightly behind. And the first Marine is out now for Fantasy. We'll see if he can pick off that SCV or two in Flash's base before Flash gets his Marines out. We'll see. SCV getting in once again into Flash's base, going to get a scout out and perhaps cause some more harassment. And Marine is out now, managing to, is he going to pick off an SCV? He might be able to pick off an SCV here. But Flash is doing a great job of recycling his SCVs, bringing them back and forth, and now with 4 SCVs versus the Marine, Flash has managed to push the Marine back, chasing the Marine around the middle of the map. And that's going to be that for this little harassment. Fantasy is going to continue producing Marines. Flash has got his own Marine out, so he should be fine here at this point. He might decide to put down a bunker, might not, to defend against these Marines and against early vultures. But expect both players to be going into 2 factories now, and then we'll see where they decide to put their technology. Probably both are going to go for 2 factories, get a vulture out, get some tanks out, and then we'll see if either player decides to go for dropships or Wraiths at that point. Fantasy now with 3 Marines versus Flash's 3 Marines. Not going to be able to do too much. Both players floating their barracks. 4 Marines now for Fantasy. So, yeah, both players top notch. I mean, you can tell from their micro that they're just both focused so much on the production and the control of their units at the same time. It's just both are just top notch in that respect. Fantasy's, Flash has landed his barracks, so he's going to get a couple Marines just to be safe. Nope, looks like he's actually not. Both are going to float, and we'll see if Flash decides to go for if either player decides to go for Starport earlier on, or if they can go for Armory or something like that. Starport, yeah, there's Starport for Flash, and what kind of tech? Armory for Fantasy. So a slight divergence here between the two players. Flash is going to have Wraiths, but Fantasy is going to have earlier upgrades and Goliaths. Yeah, I mean, Terran versus Terran just reminds me of what warfare is like in the 21st century, like modern warfare so much. You know, you have air mobility, you have ground control, siege tanks. Anyway, Flash managed to do some good micro in the middle of the map. Managed to kill off Fantasy's army here, actually. Very impressive micro there from Flash. Using the vultures to pick off the Marines as they were walking across the maps, with Flash with a slight army advantage now. And he's got Wraiths coming out pretty soon, too. Meanwhile, Fantasy slightly behind economically, just a tad. And he's going to now float barracks across. Probably going to lose that. He might lose that barracks, actually, if he doesn't pull it back. Flash now with a tank. Fantasy with a tank also. And Flash is going to have those Wraiths to do some harassment soon. Fantasy, though, last game was critical, getting those early upgrades, managing to get the tanks so they could two-shot Flash's tanks, and that was pretty important. Flash is going to use the Wraith to finish off the barracks. Not a bad move. It's going to stop Fantasy from building more factories, but he gets his factories down in time, so not a problem there. It's going to have enough for a little bit of time at least. As you can see, those neutral buildings there are blocking the natural expansion in the back for Flash, and we'll see if either player decides to destroy those neutral buildings with siege tanks. Sieged up siege tanks can destroy them pretty easily. Fantasy bringing some Goliaths, yeah, and vultures in the middle of the maps, and Flash running down with a slightly larger army in the center with his tanks. Looks like some upgrades going down for Flash. Flash, meanwhile, expanding once again to the right side, so that means Flash once again is going to have an economic advantage over Fantasy, just like in the last game. Fantasy with more factories, though, at this point. I think the observers will try to show us Flash might decide to go for some kind of siege up and destroying those buildings, but more importantly, he has a dropship out, and Fantasy right now doesn't have that much to defend against it. Flash has gotten on the ridge in the back of Fantasy's base here, and he's got himself sieged up, so pretty good position for him. If Fantasy gets mines out, he might be able to still take out those tanks, but otherwise he could be in some trouble here. Looks like, yeah, Flash is doing some micro here. Mines, oh man, Mines taking out one of Flash's tanks in the back of Fantasy's base. Meanwhile, Flash has got himself a decent contain here, or at least a denial of the expansion, and denial of half of Fantasy's base, actually. Flash is going to use his Marines to, yeah, it looks like, just to try to set off the mines. Fantasy, meanwhile, expanding at the 3 o'clock position, because he can't use the back of his base anymore. So, Flash with a slight advantage, I feel, at this point. Flash trying to get his Marines to set up the mines, not going to work this time. And we'll see if Fantasy. Oh, Fantasy now going for the buildings, blocking Flash's natural expansion. So Fantasy actually has a superior force on the ground there, because Flash's army is mainly was in Fantasy's base, but Flash can ferry it back. Once again, we'll see Goliaths versus dropships here, and Fantasy with more factories than Flash has. Fantasy now breaking through, managing to get into the back of Flash's base, but we'll see if those mines manage to blow up the tanks. Very, very close here. Oh, looks like Flash doing some great micro here with the dropships. Gonna pick off, looks like all the vultures, but not before they lay a couple more mines. That one tank might die. No, it's gonna live. It's gonna get repaired and live. Very nice play. Very nice play from both players there. So Flash, a little bit vulnerable, but so is Fantasy. I'm not sure if Flash has any units left though in Fantasy's base, maybe a tank or two, a little bit in the upper right. Fantasy though right now is mining fine on 3 bases, and I think actually Fantasy has a better positioning here because he's managed to destroy those neutral buildings, and once again he's managed somehow to gain map control here and set up a contain on Flash. Some rates now coming out for Fantasy. He's just so good at turning the what looks like a disadvantage into an advantage, and managing to just wrest the middle of the map away from Flash with his mines and tanks. All right, Flash now trying to push out. Whoa! Those mines could do a lot of damage, but it looks like they do some damage to Flash, but not before he destroys the rest of them. And again, Fantasy gonna have an upgrade advantage pretty soon. Flash though trying to outflank Fantasy's army here, trying to go westward and then outflank it, but Fantasy right now making the minefield and the tanks that he needs to defend there. And he's got a mine there where Flash wants to expand at the bottom. Nice work there. So we'll see what happens. Flash now going to lose those 2 tanks. I was right, there were 2 tanks in the back of Fantasy's base, and Flash really didn't do much once again with his early dropships. He managed to just sneak a couple of units in, but that was it. Didn't manage to do much at all. Now Flash managing to capture the southern side of the map. 2 rates for Flash. And we'll see if he manages to break out. Wow, Flash putting down mines next to Fantasy's tanks. He's got himself a nice push here, and he's going to take out the first line of tanks. I'm not sure if he's going to do too much more. He's going to pick off a part of Fantasy's army there. But Fantasy, of course, still with the more army. And Fantasy right now with his rates. Flash needs to get out, once again, a Valkyrie to deal with the rates. Interesting tech there from Flash, and Fantasy now at the south part of the army. He's going to be able to take out the expansion Flash was trying to pick up. And yeah, Flash actually recovers by bringing some more vultures down there. So the expansion's still going to go up. Both players right now just jostling for position, and like in the human wars, the real wars in our history, position is everything here. Flash now dropping down some vultures. They're going to be able to just pick off a couple of SCVs of Fantasy, but not before losing his dropship again. Flash is. And Flash right now with upgraded vultures around the map. He's trying to just slowly get out of this contain here, but Fantasy right there spots his move into the north. Flash once again pushing in, managing to take out some tanks, but Fantasy with his defense and depth here still has more tanks up. But Flash right now actually is not in a bad position at all. Fantasy is slightly ahead though, I'd say, at this point. Yeah, Fantasy blocking Flash's attempt to expand at the bottom left also. We'll see what happens there. One-on-one combat here, duel between the vultures. Anyway, Flash once again trying to push into the center. Is he going to be able to do it? Flash moving ahead with his vulture screen. Vultures are all killed though, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that. Wow, 3 vultures get into Flash's main base though. Fantasy just so good with harassment in this game, as he was in the last game. Oh my goodness! Now a ton of vultures getting into the south part of the base, picking off a lot of SCVs, almost all the SCVs there. Wow, great move by Fantasy there. Just shows you how important the center of the map is, because Flash is getting harassed to death basically. Fantasy is going to shut down this expansion at the bottom also. So good work. These cavalry raids by Fantasy are just, just proving themselves so effective. He's like, the Nathaniel Bedford Forrest or something with those cavalry raids, managing to shut down Flash's supply and, create economic havoc in Flash. Fantasy has got himself a tank now, also in part of Flash's base. Yeah, Flash right now definitely behind at this point, economically. And Flash once again with a lot of Valkyries. I really don't get this Valkyrie business here unless Valkyries have some new ability or something that I don't know about. He does not need 3 Valkyries to defend against 3 Wraiths. Flash needs to, more importantly, deal with that dropship. And Flash, yeah, Flash is gonna once again lose that SCV that's building up here, trying to build that bottom left. Good work there from Fantasy, managing to shut it down once and again. And wow, Flash right now gonna get pushed back in the middle of the map. The mines might, oh, just so close. Flash is gonna lose his units though. Looks like no, yes, he is. Fantasy once again pushing out. Flash once again with too many Valkyries. I just don't understand the Valkyrie play at all. Maybe someone can enlighten me in the comments what they're for. But alright, Flash now finally gonna be able to expand at the bottom left. But Flash right now definitely behind. Fantasy once again pushing out in the middle of the map. Flash with a lot of vultures. We'll see if they manage to do anything against these tanks. If he get down some good mines, he might be able to kill them off, but it looks like he doesn't. Fantasy now sieging up, and Flash is forced to retreat here. And Fantasy once again has shut down the bottom left. I mean, this is just ridiculous at this point. This is really like, you know, crazy, absolute crazy harassment. Yeah, shutting it down once again. Both expansions that were trying to go up there. But Flash right now with a slightly bigger army, according to the food count actually, because Fantasy has thrown away a lot of his vultures just to harass. But really, the extra food count doesn't seem to be doing too much for Flash at this point. He's, you know, not mining at the bottom left. Finally, he's going to finish it. And some of the food count is Valkyries too, which are pretty useless. Anyway, it looks like Flash is gonna manage to push out a little bit more against his attack coming up. And Fantasy, meanwhile, bringing some more vultures down. We'll see if they can put down some mines and stop. Oh no, almost got the mines off on the tanks, but not quite. Flash with +1 upgrade, and Fantasy with +1/+1. Fantasy once again with the science vessel out to detect the mines and cast a D matrix once in a while. So both players just jostling for position here in the center of the map. Flash is gonna. Oh, looks like Fantasy is gonna catch a bunch of transferring SCVs of Flash and pick them off. So, like I said, Nathaniel Bedford Forrest here. Flash looks like he is gonna take down those marauding vultures. Not before they pick off some SCVs, though. Looks like. Yeah. Wow, Flash is gonna use his SCV to kill off this this vulture here. Losing a couple of SCVs there. So at this point in the game, I'm not sure exactly what the best strategy to do is. I guess expand and try to defend your expansions, but you know, jostle for position in the middle of the map at the same time. And right now we're seeing Fantasy expanding at the upper right. Oh, Flash has now put down a huge drop on Fantasy's base there on the right side. Very nice work. This drop is actually quite effective, and it's going to manage to take down all the SCVs. He's stuck in the corner there, but he might be able to pick off a command center also. So good work there for Flash. I think by now he's retaken the lead again in this game. And he's got a harassment at the top. So Flash just needs to get one more drop or 2 more drops down, and he's going to really pull ahead in this game. I feel like Flash right now is playing at the best of his abilities, and it's quite good to watch actually. And Flash going to go for a big drop in the center, in the main base rather. He's going to fly right by. He's going to go right for the factories of Fantasy. We'll see if he manages to do some damage here with this big drop inside of Fantasy's main base. Fantasy recalling a lot of troops, and looks like he actually manages to clean it up pretty well. So good work by Fantasy. Yeah. He's just following these dropships now wherever they go. Flash still might have some units left there, but meanwhile Fantasy pushing south with his main army realizes he's got enough Flash's Valkyrie attacking the science vessels, and looks like some D-Matrix gonna go off. Flash with his 4 Valkyries. No idea why he built so many. Oh man, this is actually quite bad. Flash's main base is under attack right now. He's just so spread out with his units here that Fantasy might be able to just bull his way through into Flash's main. It looks like D-Matrix spider mine there. Fantasy right now in Flash's natural expansion with a sizable force up to the factories of Flash. Can Flash recover from this? I'm not sure. At this point, Flash is in big trouble once again. So I was wrong. Fantasy managed to be fine here with his economy and just pushing in right now. And he's got reinforcements coming now into that natural expansion. This could be really bad for Flash at this point. I mean, he's mined out there, so he's not going to lose much of resources. But still, he needs to get rid of these units that are threatening his main. Yeah, he's going to lose the command center there. Wow. I mean, Fantasy just not even needing the dropships this game. Just like in last game, Fantasy just going by ground, walking all over Flash. And he's got those earlier upgrades, which are pretty critical. I mean, he's got +2/+2 right now for his units, whereas Flash, I think, is still at 0 and 1. And Fantasy now trying to gain the economic lead by expanding twice at the top. Flash is going to bring over some units, but not before Fantasy, I think, manages to, yeah, he's going to bring over some speed vultures. That's going to help take care of Flash's little drop here at the upper left. Meanwhile, rates are coming down, too. I don't know where Flash's Valkyries are. Fantasy just content to establish himself in the natural expansion of Flash, meaning his units can't get out of his base. That's just going to be really bad for Flash, because he's not going to be able to defend against attacks to his lower left side at all at this point. Except with dropships. Flash's dropships getting intercepted. What's Flash going to do here? It looks like he's going to drop. Oh, man. Mine going off. Oh, this is not looking good for Flash at all now. Huge amount of vultures at the bottom left expansion. They're going to probably take out all the SCVs there. And, yeah, they're in the main base of the bottom left, too. Just Flash not able to break out of his own natural expansion except for by dropships at this point. His economy is just crippled at this point. Man, I'm expecting Flash to GG at this point, or pretty soon, because I mean he's just absolutely wrecked. He's actually doing some good damage here at the top, but he can't get his units out. He's lost his functioning bases. I mean, way behind at this point, forced to ferry out units. This just absolute stranglehold on Flash is just really causing a lot of headache for him, and it's just really gonna seal the deal pretty soon, I feel. And where are those damn Valkyries? I'm looking for the Valkyries to help deal with these rates, but they're nowhere to be seen. I don't know why Flash built them if he's not going to use them to kill off these rates. Very puzzling to me. Maybe they were already killed off, but just very odd. Yeah, Flash going to lose his tanks now to those rates. And once again, Flash's dropships just not sufficient to deal with the ground army of Fantasies. SCVs now, I'm sorry, Vultures now going to kill off all the SCVs at Flash's remaining bases. I think the game is going to be over pretty soon. Yeah, Flash just has no more resources left. Fantasy picking off Flash's dropships there. Yeah, Flash has got nothing. Flash is not mining anywhere at this point. And Fantasy has complete map control. That brilliant attack to go for Flash's natural expansion really sealed the deal for Fantasy. Instead of trying to defend his own base, he decided to go right for Flash's natural, and that was it. I mean, Flash right now has absolutely nothing going on. Wow. Flash, yeah, he's just got a lot of SCVs idling around. Fantasy's got SCVs all around the map. He's still sieged up in the natural expansion, and I'm just waiting for Flash to give up here in game 2. Really unfortunate for the Bionic Terran there. Just appears like he's not managing to you know, use his cyborg technology successfully to fight Fantasy. Somehow Fantasy has just got him EMP'd or something. Flash is just not able to do too much to Fantasy. He does have a force here at the upper right, but it's really not enough to do anything. It's stuck in the wrong position to defend his main base. Fantasy now just going to go in with his Wraiths, do some harassment. The Wraiths of Fantasy have just been so good in all these games so far, and he has just managed to pick off tanks with them, managing to kill dropships with them, deny mobility, all that good stuff. And yeah, he's just going to move in now, I think, and finish off the game. Flash does have those Charon boosted Goliaths to defend, but at this point he's just got no resources, no army left. So I'm not sure why he hasn't given up, to be honest. This game's been over for a few minutes. But he wants to defend, I guess. He wants to just play it to the end. Yeah, Flash. Oh, he's got dropships, but Fantasy's got his Wraiths there. Great work there by Fantasy, killing off the Wraiths. Killing off the dropships of Flash with those Wraiths. And just slowly choking Flash to death here at this point. Flash somehow got an SUV to the top, but he's not going to be able to hold that base for very long, I don't feel. I mean, he's just so isolated out there. I just don't know what Flash's strategy was this game. I guess go for big drops and try to win that way, but it just has not worked out at all for him. Meanwhile, Fantasy's was quite simple, which is get the middle of the map, get the middle of the map, and get the middle of the map. And he's done it in both games, and then get Wraiths to stop Flash's dropships. I mean, just superior strategy, I feel. Flash is desperately trying to do something here, but once Fantasy decides to snuff him out, it's going to be over here at the top. It looks like Flash is going to get snuffed out here by Fantasy's huge army, as you can see. Now advancing to the top position. Yeah, he knows what's going on. He's just not even going to bother sieging up. He's just going to move in with the vultures and the tanks. And Flash trying to break out of his main base. Probably not going to work. It is going to work, it looks like, but just barely. And Fantasy is going to be able to win this game here just by using his cloak Wraiths actually to finish off some of these tanks, and finishing off Flash's 12 o'clock expansion is just going to be game. Yeah, there's GG coming from Flash. Well played by Fantasy. Flash just not being as good as I remember him being, but we'll see if he manages to come back from a 2-0 deficit in Game 3. Thanks for watching, guys.